Hey, how's it going? So it's Wednesday, it's time for another workout, and I'm going to briefly outline what the workout is today, and then I'm going to actually go through the whole process of showing you what it is minute by minute in real time. So the first few minutes, just outline, and then if you want to stay on after that, you can actually go through the whole thing together with me if you want to. And there'll be a little bit of time where I go and get changed before I hop on the bike, and I'll cut that out obviously, but it'll be 15 minutes or less of core work and about 45 minutes of riding. And there's adjustments that you could do to make it longer or shorter, or you could obviously just pick to do the core work if that's what you want to focus on today, or you could skip ahead and just do the bike workout if you want to. This is very similar to a lot of the work that I do with high schoolers, where we'll do a little bit of core work when we're inside, and then we'll do a very concise, effective bike workout that is, enough of a session, enough intensity to make it a good workout, but it's not hard, and you could do it day after day. Or if you, maybe have challenging weather and you would go out for a 2-hour endurance ride on the road and you want to move inside, but you don't want to spend 2 hours on the trainer, you could get it done in 45 to 60 minutes. So today, the workout is very straightforward. I'm going to do 3 sets of 3 exercises working on my core. So I'm going to do some flutter kicks, some Russian twists, and some back extensions. So I work a little bit on the front, a little bit twisting, and a little bit on my back. And then I'm going to move to the bike, and I'm going to do 6 by 3 minutes of tempo, and I'm going to alternate to make it a little bit more interesting and a little bit more effective. I'm going to do some big gear tempo where I'm at a lower cadence to work on high level muscle engagement, and I'm going to do some a little bit higher cadence work. So it's just slightly below my naturally selected cadence and slightly above my naturally selected cadence, so I can work on strength and conditioning more muscle fibers with the low cadence stuff, and then with the higher cadence stuff, working on leg speed and being efficient and fluid at higher cadences. And in general, doing both of those and mixing in some high cadence and low cadence work into your training is going to be helpful, because especially if you're a racer, you really need to be able to generate torque at lower cadences, because sometimes you need to accelerate and you're not in quite the gear that you'd want to be in, or sometimes you might want to accelerate and then spin out your gear because you don't want to be distracted by shifting in the middle of an attack or something like that. And generally, even if you aren't a bike racer and you don't have to deal with changing your pace at a time when you don't choose, it can enhance your fitness if you do have better strength and better leg speed, and you're just really efficient at high and low cadences, so that even when you are operating at your natural kind of comfortable selected cadence, which is usually 85 to 95 for most people, you're going to be more comfortable and more efficient at those cadences. So I'm going to get down to it, and if you want to sit through, there's going to be, the whole session is going to be recorded, and if you want to just take it and run and do your own thing, that's fine too. Again, it's going to be 3 by 3 exercises of core, and then I'm going to go change and then hop on the bike and do 45 minutes on the bike, and that's going to be 15 to 20 minutes of warm up, and then 6 by 3 minutes of tempo, high cadence and low cadence, with 1 minute recovery in between, and then just a quick couple minutes of spin out at the end. It's not that intense of a workout, so you don't need a really long cool down after the session, because it's a pretty moderate intensity session. It is maybe what I would regard as an easy workout for somebody that's moderately fit, or if you're more of a beginner, it could be kind of a strength building type of workout where it's enough of a stress to build your aerobic fitness and your strength, but it's not that stressful that it's going to require more than 1 or 2 days to recover from it. So that's about it. The whole thing, plus a few minutes to change, is going to be about an hour. If you were pretty fit and you had more time, you could add another few sets of tempo at the end of the trainer session, or just some free riding afterwards at a comfortable, steady aerobic pace, and make it an hour or an hour 15. Or if you had a gym available or some weights, you could do some core, use that as a warm up, and then do a little bit more strength stuff. But for our purposes, for this workout, we're just going to do an hour, 15 minutes or less than that of core work, and then 45 minutes on the bike, and it's going to be great. And it's something you can do any time of year, but especially in the winter time, especially early in your training cycle when you're working on just core strength and aerobic fitness, and maybe the weather's not great outside, it can be a good session for you. So that's it. We'll get started. Okay, so I'm going to start the clock and do 60 seconds of each move, just alternating very quickly in between them, and let's go. Okay. So yeah, there's a few different variations of Russian twist. You can have your legs elevated off the ground. You could have your heels resting on the ground. You could hold a weight or an object in your hands. But the general idea is you just contract your core, keep it contracted, and have that twisting motion, and just have like constant contraction throughout the whole duration. Now I'm going to lay on my back, raise my feet up, and do flutter kicks. Pretty straightforward. If you need your hands onto your butt, that provides a little bit more support. If you inch them out a little bit, or you have them completely outside of being out under your butt and they're all at your sides, that increases the difficulty. But in general, if you're starting out, start with what is very doable and then build up from there. You always want to make sure the training is challenging enough to be stressful, to create the drive to like make your body get better, but you also don't want to just overwhelm your body and be, sore for days or get hurt because you're way overdoing it. You'll see that I have my hands like right in front of my shoulders, and I'm just holding them like this. You want to raise your back, your front of your chest off the ground, and engage your lower back to do so. For me, I broke my arm several years ago, and I have a lot of impingement and pain if I try to reach up. So I'm just kind of dealing with my situation. But if you want to like raise your hands when you're doing back extensions, like where your hands are next to your ears, or even like above your head, it again increases the leverage that weight has and makes the movement more difficult. But for me, I'm doing what I can. So back to Russian twist for a minute. Almost done. Okay, good stuff. That's fun. And it's okay, like I said, to take a brief rest between moves or in the middle of sets if you need it. Yeah, it's all about creating stress that's like challenging for you but not overwhelming. And I don't know, that's it. Flutter Kicks. Good stuff. Okay, back on the front. Doing back extensions for a minute. And yeah, clearly I'm like starting to breathe hard a little bit and working up sweat. And a lot of times I'll do core work before I run, or if I'm going to do a gym session, I'll like start by running or riding to the gym when I had a gym membership. Obviously that's less of a thing right now with COVID, but I would use a little bit of aerobic work and then do core before I did any strength work. And a good warm-up is always key for any high intensity activity, or if you're doing strength work, you really want your muscles and your joints to be warmed up and ready to go. So never skip on your warm-up. But yeah, back extensions for a minute. More seconds. Okay, good stuff. Just one more set. Most of the way done. Okay, good stuff. Just 2 more minutes of core. I love it. I feel like a lot of times the discomfort of training can be, discouraging, or not discouraging, but it's like it can be unpleasurable because it's like, oh, it hurts, like my muscles are sore, or they're burning because I'm like working hard. But at the same time, it's like, that's just feedback that you're doing good effort. And I think it's really good to be aware of like what's a good level of effort for you, what's challenging, what's gonna like really like stress you but in a good way, and obviously knowing the difference between that and you know, pushing when you should take it easy, or pushing until you're injured, especially at the gym or doing strength work. You know, just lifting as heavy as you can is really almost never the right approach unless you've just really built up to it over a long period of time. But, you know, especially on the bike, especially running, it's like the discomfort and like strain of like getting your heart rate way up there and making your legs burn. It's like, I don't know, it's like, it's a lot of fun because it's like, you know, you're doing good work when that's the case. But again, you know, you don't want to be doing that all the time. There's days to do that and days to take it easier. But yeah, flutter kicks for a minute. 30 seconds. Ten seconds. Almost done. Literally the last minute of this part of the workout. Okay, back extensions for 1 minute. Seconds. Okay, great. That was fun. I'm gonna go change and hop on the bike and then do, again, about 45 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes warm up, 6 by 3 minutes of tempo, alternating between high and low cadence with 1 minute recovery, and then just a quick spin out at the end for a very solid 45 minutes on the bike. So I'll be back in a quick second. So as always, training indoors, I have a towel to towel myself off and try to stay dry. And I definitely have some drink mix to help stay hydrated throughout the workout. I have my laptop and screen. Usually I'll have Zwift running on one screen and then some sort of a show on the other if I'm just training alone, or I'll have some music if I'm doing a workout and I just want to focus entirely on doing the work. And then of course I'll have a good fan blowing pretty intensely to try to keep me cool. Even if it's, you know, in the wintertime and it's cold down here, I'll, you know, have a puddle of sweat underneath me. Having that fan is really quite key. It's really easy to overheat if you're training inside. But yeah, let's get going. Okay, so test this out. Try to capture slow and swift, and it's all riding, so we see how that's all riding, so we see how that. But basically, the first 15 minutes of this ride is going to be warming up, getting the legs moving, and getting your blood flow up. You know, any good workout, you know, the warm-up is not a part of the workout. The warm-up is just you getting ready to do whatever workout you're going to do. The harder the workout is, the longer you need your warm-up to be, and the more thorough. And you just want to start off like at a comfortable pace as you get warmed up. the intensity that feels comfortable will progressively, be progressively higher. So, right now, my heart rate's really low. I'm just kind of noodling, and partly I'm talking, so I don't want to it's hard to both talk and breathe hard at the same time. So by the time I'm going harder, I'll probably stop talking and maybe do some voiceover or something like that as needed to kind of narrate the workout. But the first 15 minutes, we're just getting going. We're just trying to get our heart rate up, trying to get a sweat going, and get ready to do the workout in a little bit. So I have very low expectations for myself at this moment in time. Basically, I just want to finish 15 to 20 minutes of riding and feel ready to do some tempo, because that's the workout for today. And again, this workout is not terribly intense. Having done some core work beforehand, there's already kind of a jump start on the warm-up. So, if I was starting first thing in the morning and I was cold and trying to get just a bike workout in, I might leave myself more time to warm up, or I'll see how I feel as I get going, and then farther and farther into the ride, 10 minutes, 15 minutes in, if I feel like I'm warming up easily and quickly, I might just jump right into the workout. On the other hand, if I feel like I'm really just kind of a little bit sluggish that day, I will allow myself to go 20 minutes, 25 minutes to warm up before I start doing anything. And any good warm up, again, you start off easy and you just slowly ramp up until you have your heart rate up, you have your power up a little bit, and you feel like you're getting into a rhythm, getting a sweat going. So for me, for anyone who has a power meter, you can start off at like 50 to 60% of threshold or FTP power for the first few minutes, and usually the first few minutes go by pretty quickly, and then you can slowly ramp up from that 50 to 60% up to 70%, 75% by the end of the warm-up. And at no point during the warm-up should it feel terribly difficult. It should just feel like you're getting going. And Zwift, I'm going to make a quick adjustment here. They have the trainer difficulty setting that I do not want at max. I want more control over how difficult the riding is. So there we go, I switched it back. So this way I can basically go as easy or hard as I want to at any given moment throughout the ride. In Zwift it's kind of nice because you can use the terrain just like you would out in the real world and push hard on the climbs, go easier on the flats or descents, or if the difficulty is turned up, or you can turn the difficulty down. At least that's the setting that they call it. And then you're just riding the trainer, you have the feedback of the virtual world of Zwift, but you can kind of go as easy or hard as you want on any terrain. So you can be going on flat ground in the world of Zwift, and then up a 10% climb, and the trainer won't, ramp up the resistance a ton immediately. So yeah, just a few minutes in, at least 10 more minutes of just getting going, getting your sweat going, getting your heart rate elevated. But again, not pushing until much later during the workout. Oh, and during this workout, and if you like this, please subscribe, give me feedback, let me know that this is useful to you. As an endurance athlete, I'm used to doing long rides with no stimulation except just the feedback of my body. And so I don't know if people are going to be into doing little trainer workouts like this in real time. But if you like this, if you think that having little indoor workouts is useful, I would keep making more of these. But just let me know if that's something you're into. But I will refrain from forcing whatever my music choices are on you, and you can, maybe run different apps on your computer or on your phone and listen to your own preference for music. Definitely, I think that nowadays with Zwift or RGT cycling or the other online trainer platforms that give you these virtual worlds to ride through, it makes indoor riding way more enjoyable and way easier than it was prior to their existence. But listening to music can really help you get into a groove, and I would regard it as being one of the most useful tools for indoor riding. Personally, I never ride with music outside. I just pay attention to what's happening in the world and pay attention to traffic, and there's a lot more stimulation, looking at the scenery and so forth. But inside, even if we're riding on Zwift, I will enjoy listening to music to try to help myself get pumped up for whatever workout I'm doing and help pass the time more quickly. But so I would definitely encourage you to find some music that you like for any indoor workout that you're doing, whether it's core work, strength work, riding the trainer. If you're doing an easy workout, you could, and you're just trying to get the miles in, you could definitely, watch some sort of show or listen to a book on tape or something like that, or a podcast. If you're trying to do a more intense workout, I would definitely not do that, and I would just listen to music, because music can provide you some something to listen to, and it can help pump you up, but it's not distracting. It's not like you're trying to listen to story or news or other information that requires a certain level of processing in your brain. When you're, it's kind of interesting. If you're trying to perform at a certain level, dissociating from your experience in your body is sometimes helpful. So if you're just on a treadmill and you're getting some miles in, or you're out on a run, just going steady, listening to some music that you enjoy can be helpful. But on the other hand, if you're trying to do a truly hard, truly maximal kind of performance, then anything that's distracting from your ability to focus on the work that you're doing is going to be counterproductive. And if you're trying to do a PR in the 5K, listening to music and paying attention to the music is not going to be very helpful, because you want to pay attention to your body, pay attention to your pacing, pay attention to your breathing, and have total focus on those things. And simultaneously have laser focus and also a lack of thought. I feel whenever I'm doing a really hard workout or doing a time trial or something like that, I feel there's both nothing going on in my head, I'm not thinking about anything, but I'm very tuned into how I'm feeling, how my legs are feeling, how my breathing is feeling, how my heart and lungs are feeling, and the intensity that I want to go, So I think that it's good to have tools like music or movies or podcasts to help for your lower intensity rides. But when you're doing any quality training, you don't want to be distracted with those things. And again, indoors can be great. You don't have to worry about traffic, you don't have to worry about descents, cold weather, intersections, and you can just get, if you're on the trainer for 45 minutes, you can be pedaling every minute of that time, which is ideally the goal. Whereas 45 minutes of riding outside, probably anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes of that is going to be interrupted with descents or rolling up a stop sign, what have you. So indoor training can be very efficient. It can also be very warm, so remember to stay hydrated. That's great. Thank you, Windows, for that lovely notification. So like I stopped pedaling for a quick second there and then started pedaling again while I just turned off that stupid notification. And one thing, if you're training with power, a lot of people get fixated on not going above whatever zone they're trying to go in. So like, let's say for me, my threshold is 400 watts, which it is basically. I mean, obviously it'll fluctuate depending on the time of year and just exactly what kind of shape I'm in, but anywhere from like 370 to 410 will be my peak power for 40 to 60 minutes. But, I don't really care if I'm at a stop sign and I'm standing there for 10 seconds or a minute, and then I get going, I like accelerate from the stop sign, or if I go down a hill and then into a little incline. I really don't care if I'm doing 400, 500, even 600 watts for like a short period of time as I just accelerate back up to speed and to get into my pace. So like just then, I stopped pedaling for a second and then I did whatever, 350 to 400 for a few moments as I got going again. That doesn't matter because like it's not creating a huge cascade of like chemical events in your body in the same way that doing 350 or 400 or 500 for like a minute or several minutes does. So a lot of times for general endurance riding or warming up or just getting the miles in, I would focus as much on heart rate and making sure that your heart rate, it's going to come up and down depending on whether you're on a flat or going up a climb or stop at a stop sign or whatever. But if you accelerate from the stop sign or just do an extra few watts on a steep switchback on an otherwise steady climb, it doesn't matter if your power goes up 10, 20, 30% for a few seconds. As long as you're not keeping it, like pushing hard enough for long enough that you see your heart rate really skyrocket, you'll be fine. So a lot of times, like yesterday I went out and I did a little over 3 hours outside on the road, and right this second, my regular road bike is out of commission with a mechanical issue, so I'm riding the gravel bike, and I don't have power on that bike. I just have heart rate and perceived effort, and I don't even pay attention to speed ever on any of my rides because like training is all about intensity and time, and speed has very little to do with either of those things. But I just went by feel and mostly kept my heart rate elevated. I did some tempo and some climbs, but moment to moment I might have seen decent fluctuations in my power. But as long as my heart rate, for me at least, like maybe stays 130 to 150 for most of that ride, and it dips below that on the descents or at stop signs, that's fine. As long as I don't see my heart rate getting like way up into threshold territory, like 160, 165 or above, then I know that I'm like gonna tolerate little spikes in power just fine, as long as it's not sustained and my heart rate doesn't go up. So like right now, I don't know, doing like mid to high 200s and trying to just see my heart rate drift from under 100 like when it started up to the 120s or even 130 or so as I get ready to do some tempo efforts. And like I said, since I did some core work right before changing and getting on the bike, I'm already feeling pretty warmed up, so I'm just going to go ahead and do the tempo efforts. And in this particular case, these efforts aren't that hard. If I was doing some threshold or like VO2 max intervals or something like that, I would definitely give myself a longer warm-up because those are more intense efforts. But right now, I feel pretty fine doing some like 300, like mid 300 watt efforts, which is tempo for me with my current level of warm-up. So it's about 15 minutes right now. I'm going to start with some higher cadence tempo. So for me, I'm going to try to keep it around 100 or so, and in the mid 300s. Again, moment to moment, there's going to be some fluctuations. I don't really care about that. I just care about the average power and the fact that I'm keeping my cadence just slightly uncomfortably high. Right now I have been doing a lot of high cadence stuff. So doing 100 is higher than normal and requires a little bit of focus. With more practice, I might shoot for like 110 or something like that. For short periods, I might do higher cadence than that, like 120 or 130 or so. But if I'm doing 3 minutes at a time, I'm not going to try to do anything extreme. So I'm just going to settle in to this effort and we'll get through it. So it's been a minute, 2 more minutes. So focus on keeping your breathing relaxed and deep. So right now I can see what my power is, but I'm paying attention to trying to keep my leg speed where I want it and keeping my breathing and effort level under control. Panting super hard, your legs are burning, you're going too hard. Tempo should require heavy breathing and an elevated heart rate and some effort, but it shouldn't be like your legs are burning, your lungs are screaming, and you're totally losing control of your effort. Ideally, if you can't speak in mostly complete sentences with some breaths in between, like I'm doing, then you're definitely going harder than tempo. Okay, almost 3 minutes. Easy. Okay, so 3 minutes of tempo. I'm gonna spin kind of easier for a minute, and then do the same thing again. But that time I'm gonna put it in a big gear to work on leg strength and pushing throughout the pedal stroke. As you go at higher cadences, it's good to focus on like feeling smooth, but not like bouncing around and just having, you know, nice smooth circles. But when you're at 100 RPM, 110, 120 or more, it's really hard to focus on generating power at every part of pedal stroke. Whereas if you're going at lower cadence, you can definitely kind of focus on, you know, pushing at each part of the pedal stroke and like pushing down, pulling back, pulling up, and trying to really maximize every moment of your pedal stroke. Okay, so 3 minutes tempo. Get into your rhythm and keep it at a lower cadence so that you're pedaling throughout the pedal stroke. So I'm going to try to keep it under 80 or even lower, but shoot for around the same power, like mid 300s. And for both instances, it's all about what's, you know, a little bit challenging for you, but very doable. So, like as I'm doing this, I just kept downshifting a little bit and settling into a little bit lower cadence. And right now, this feels like pretty decent for me at around 72 or so. if you're panting and you can't deal with grabbing a drink of water or drink mix, or you can't speak at all and you're just totally gassed, you're going too hard. On the other hand, if it doesn't feel like effort and you're not like kind of pushing, sweating by now, and keeping your heart rate up and your power up, if you have a power meter, then obviously you're not going as hard as you would want. Ideally, it's like 85, 90% of threshold, or obviously if you were really early in your training program or later, you might be targeting a little more power or longer efforts, or a little less power if you're like early in a training program, or you might do shorter efforts. But this is a great model workout, and kind of hard to do it poorly. Like if you're sweating, getting your heart rate up, pushing, but not uncomfortably so, it's going to be a good workout. So we're just past halfway through this effort, and we're doing great. And make sure you're being smooth. If you feel like your weight on your saddle is all over the place, then you should smooth things out. Just think about doing opposing force on each side. So most of our power comes on the downstroke, but if you can pull back and up a little bit on the follow through, you'll be getting more power and using more muscles, like more muscle mass to do it by using your glutes and your hamstrings more, and that'll allow you to do more maximal power and more sustainable power. Obviously, when you're getting at higher intensities, you have your aerobic capacity and anaerobic threshold to deal with, which are like certain kind of oxygen delivery and metabolic constraints. But when you're sprinting, you're doing an endurance ride, being able to access more motor units and engage more muscle fibers will allow you to do more work and get more out of it. Okay, so that's 23 minutes. I was spacing out at 4 minutes tempo. It's great. It's all good. And again, it's like not that intense, so if you go over a little bit, it's fine. If you're doing a threshold interval or VO2 max interval, and it's scheduled to be 4 minutes, and then you go to 5, like obviously that's just way different and way harder. But for our purposes right now, that's great. And in between, you know, you're gonna go easy enough if you're recovering, and you can do the next effort. But it's not like these are really intense efforts. You don't need to like totally soft pedal for these. So that's the first pair. We'll do 4 more efforts, 3 more pairs of efforts, high cadence, low cadence, and back again. Okay, so we'll do another 3 minutes of tempo, hopefully all over 100 RPM for me, or you know, a little more, a little less, depending on where you're at. And again, it's fine if you're like rocking a little bit as you're riding. Obviously, riding and running are both very asymmetrical activities, moment to moment. But if you feel like your seat, like your weight is changing a lot, moment to moment, with each pedal stroke, you're like weighting and unweighting your saddle. Try to smooth that out. Just try to be smooth and efficient, and always try to remain as relaxed as possible, even if you are pushing at high intensity. That's definitely like a skill that can be cultivated in your training so that you can perform better when you're racing or you're doing time trials or fitness tests or whatever it is that your goals are.
effort required at 90 or 100 or 110 RPM changes substantially, even at the same power. And your heart rate will change too, which is fine. But you know, all of training is about creating some kind of stress and discomfort that will allow your body to better handle that in the future. Okay, just cruise for a minute. It's literally halfway through the workout. So 3 more efforts. High cadence just done. Low cadence up next. And sometimes, especially out on the road, but also inside, I'll get out of the saddle to try to use different muscles a little bit and open up my chest a little bit so I can breathe a little more deeply and a little more comfortably. And okay, almost to the 4th effort now. In the future, I'll see if I can get a better little screen format going. This is the first attempt at doing this. Get the job done. Get the job done. But there might be something a little cleaner in the future. Okay. 3 minutes. Tempo. Big gear. Low cadence.